O Moses, verily I am thy Lord. Take off thy shoes from thy feet, for thou art in the sacred valley of Thowheedh. It was a commandment given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that when you come close to the place of worship, when you enter the place of worship, remove your footwear. That's the reason we Muslims, when we go to the mosque, we remove our footwear. And but naturally, besides that, it's a hygienic practice, because we bow down, we prostrate, and but natural, we are clean people. Therefore, we'd like a place of worship to be clean. And before Salah, the Holy Quran says in Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 6, that, O you who believe, when you go for prayers, wash your face, your hands, arms up to the elbow, wipe your head with water, and wash your feet up to the ankles. That means it's compulsory that you should do ablution before you appear in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we're hygienic people, we prefer being clean. Minimum 5 times a day, we wash ourselves. And besides that, it's also a mental preparation. Like how you have prelims before your final examination. So when you're doing the wudu, you're mentally getting prepared. Okay, now I'm going to appear in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our Prophet said, it's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 1, chapter number 7, in the book of Adhan, hadith number 692, that when you stand for salah, stand shoulder to shoulder. And another hadith says that when you stand for salah, stand shoulder to shoulder, so that the devil does not come in between you. Our Prophet was not referring to the devil, which you see in comic strips, or which you see in the Onida TV ad. Those who are in India, they know that in the Onida TV ad, they show a devil with horns and a tail. Our Prophet was not referring to that devil. The Prophet was referring to the devil of racism, of wealth, of caste, of color, irrespective whether rich or poor, whether you're black or white. From whichever tribe you may come, when you stand for salah, stand shoulder to shoulder, so that the brotherhood increases. And the best part of salah is the sujood. No wonder the Holy Quran mentions the word sujood no less than 92 times. And the psychologists, they tell us that our mind is not directly under our control. Our mind, it keeps on wandering. Suppose after you come from examination, you may start thinking that, why did I answer the question number 2 like that? I gave a wrong answer. I should have answered in that way. And that keeps on bothering you for days. Irrespective whether you think or not, the marks that you get will be the same. But still your mind is not under your control. Your body is under your control. I can lift my hand, I can take a step forward, but my mind is not directly under my control. So the psychologists, they tell us, to humble the mind, you have to humble the body. And there is no better way than what we Muslims do. You put the half part of the body, that's the forehead, on the ground, and then say, glory be to Allah the most greatest. Glory be to Allah the most greatest Christ. There's no better way. No acrobat can do better than what we Muslims do. And there are various other benefits of salah. I had given a talk on the scientific benefits of salah. For example, throughout the day, there are electrostatic charges being given out from the body, from the brain. And when you do sujood, these electrostatic charges are given out from the brain, they get grounded. Not that you will get a shock if you put your hand below the head. It is that because of dominance of the frontal lobe, these are absorbed. Daily, most of the people, they're always erect. Blood is pumped from the heart into the brain. But for a very healthy brain, the blood that is pumped by the heart is not sufficient for a very healthy brain. It's sufficient for you to survive, but for a very healthy brain, it's not sufficient. When you do sujood, when your brain goes below the level of the heart, extra blood is flowed into the brain. There is extra blood supply, which is healthy for the brain. When you do sujood, the sinuses, the maxillary sinus, the ethmoidal sinuses, they get drained, the secretion. You have less chances of having sinusitis, that is inflammation of the sinuses. Where to sujood, there is more supply going to the skin of the face. You have less chances of having chilblains. Where to sujood, the secretion of the lungs, they get drained out. You have less chances of having bronchiectasis. Normally when you breathe, only 2/3 of the capacity of the air of the lung is exhaled out. The remaining 1/3 is called as residual air. But when you do sujood, the abdominal viscera, it presses against the diaphragm, and diaphragm presses against the lower lobes of the lungs, and even this residual air is exhaled out. When you breathe in sujood, even this residual air is exhaled out, and more fresh air enters, and there's less chances of having disease of the lungs. When you do sujood, there's increased blood supply to the abdominal viscera. When you do sujood, there's less chances of having hernia, less chances of having hemorrhoids. You can keep on talking about it. The calf is referred as the peripheral heart. In the medical field, it's referred as the peripheral heart because if you exercise your calves, like how in the sujood we sit down, we stand up, the calf muscle pumps blood to the lower part of the body. It's called as the peripheral heart. There are less chances of having disease of the vertebra because of the various postures we have during salah. You can give a talk only on scientific reasons of salah. But we Muslims, we don't pray for the scientific benefit. We pray to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are side dishes. You know side dishes? How we have the desert. This is the desert. Allah gives us. But we don't pray for this. We pray to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This side dishes may attract someone who does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then maybe he'll come closer to Islam. But for us Muslims who have faith, these are side dishes. We don't pray for this. We pray to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third pillar of Islam, it is zakah. Zakah means to purify, to grow. Every Muslim should give minimum 2.5% of the wealth that he has above the nisab level, above the minimum level, that is 7.5 tola gold. If he has a wealth above that, he should give 2.5% of that amount every lunar year in charity. Compulsory, it's called as zakah. And to whom it should be given is given in Surah Tawbah, chapter 9, verse number 60. The fuqara, that's the poor, the masakin, the needy, and those who are coming closer to Islam, and to free the slave, those who are in debt, etc., etc. 8 categories are given. And the Holy Quran, it rightly says in Surah Hashr, chapter 59, verse number 7, that zakah has been ordained for you so that the wealth does not circulate among the rich. Wealth does not only circulate among the rich. If every human being in the world gives zakat, poverty will be eradicated from this world. There will not be a single human being who will die of hunger. If every human being in this world follows that if he has a particular wealth, higher than a particular amount, the nisab level, and if he gives 2.5% minimum charity, poverty will be eradicated from this world. There will not be a single human being who will die of hunger. And the Quran says in Surah Tawbah, chapter 9, verse number 30.35, that tell to those people who bury the gold and the silver and give not their wealth in charity, tell them that heat will be produced from this wealth, from the heat of the hellfire, and they'll be branded with that same wealth on their forehead, on the back, and on the flanks. And it will be told to them, have a taste of the wealth which you hoarded. So hoarding of wealth is prohibited in Islam. The fourth pillar, that's the Hajj. It's that every adult Muslim who has the means to perform Hajj, he should at least once in his lifetime perform Hajj, that's go to the holy city of Makkah and do the rites which are ordained, at least once in his lifetime. It's the best example of universal brotherhood. And I start my talk by quoting a verse of the Holy Quran from Surah Hujurat, chapter 49, verse number 13, which says, Ya ayyuhan nasu, inna khalaqnakum min zakrin wa unsa, wa ja'alnakum shawban wa qaba'ila lit'arafu, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, inna allaha alimun khabir. That, O humankind, we have created you from a single pair of male and female, and have divided you into nations and tribes, so that you may recognize each other, not that you shall despise each other. And the most honored in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the person who has taqwa, who has righteousness, who has piety, God consciousness. So the criteria for judgment in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is not wealth, it's not sex, it's not color, it's not caste, it's not creed, but it is taqwa. it's righteousness, it's God consciousness, it's piety. And the best universal brotherhood we can see in the world is when we Muslims perform Hajj. About 2 to 2.5 million Muslims gather from various parts of the world. From America, from Japan, from Australia, from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from India, from Pakistan, from Saudi, various parts, and they gathered there. All of them attired in the same clothing, the men, in 2 pieces of unsewn cloth, preferably white. Irrespective whether you're a king or a pauper, you can't come to know the person standing next to you, whether he's a king or a pauper. You won't come to know. All attired in the same clothing. And that's the best example. We live together for a few days as one universal brotherhood.